This is ESPN ESPORTS. I'm Arda Ocal. Happy to be joined by Bjergsen TSM Summer Split champions. Years after they won their last LCS title, they are champions once again. Of course, they've already qualified for Worlds, and Bjergsen joining us now. First of all, you must be absolutely exhausted after another Game 5 series and that big break in between. How are you feeling right now?
Tired and hungry, yeah. There's always a little bit of worry whether the playing 5 games the day before the finals is going to kind of carry over. You know, people might be drinking a lot of caffeine or just be so amped up that they have a hard time sleeping. But it seemed like people still showed up in good spirits and with a lot of energy, and we were able to kind of stay high energy all the way to the last game, which was at like 7 p.m. or something. So you could definitely tell that both teams were getting a little tired. There was a time where we were catching them in the blue side jungle. They just kept fighting us, even though we were 5 people and they were like 2. I think there were a lot of mistakes at the end of that game that was just due to fatigue. But that's a part of being a pro player, right? How well can you play under unideal circumstances?
Yeah, it certainly was an idea. I mean, obviously, aside from the fact that it was online, there was a giant break in between two Wild Turtles. Power went out. There's a heat wave happening in LA, so it's already the temperature's uncomfortable. Wild Turtle has to rush to the facility to continue the game. Like, what were you guys doing during that break? Like, was there any strategizing happening? Were you thinking about what was going on in the game? What was going on during that giant, what was it, like an hour break?
Yeah, we didn't really know it was going to be an hour, so it wasn't like we could just be okay. We're going to be back in an hour, but we planned out the next steps, obviously, of how we're going to react from the situation because we were actually in a really aggressive situation. We had just dove Wild Turtle bot in between the towers, and then we just kind of took it easy. We were linking each other a lot of music, just kind of hanging out, talking. We went for walks a little bit, ate, just kind of stay energetic, and we were just kind of just together, staying connected with each other, and just making sure that we were all kind of ready to get back in the game as soon as it started. Making sure that no one is just kind of sitting around getting tired, and making sure that they have water, food, snacks, whatever they need to continue. And also just making sure that we're still in like a really our sports psychologist came in and just made sure that we were really focused because we were kind of dominating the series up until that point, and just making sure that just because of this long break, we're not taking it easy and reminding us, we're at the facility, but this is a championship game, and this game really freaking matters. And it kind of helped us get back in a good mindset after that break.
So let's talk about the series itself. I mean, this question even stretches to previous series as well. But you mentioned on the in your championship interview that you pay attention to some of the memes that TSM fans float around on social media. I'm sure you saw the Wheel of Fortune one where it says "ban Zilean," but all the vowels are gone. That one floated around a lot. And you happen to be 24-8 in your career with Zilean, and you were absolutely lights out on that champion in this postseason. Were you surprised that you were able to pick Zilean as much as you were in these playoffs?
Mm. Yeah, I just thought it was funny. I kept getting it in the final game of the series. Luckily, FlyQuest didn't let me do that. It's just been a champion I've been really comfortable on for a long time, and I think there was even a time in 2018 where I felt like the champion was covering up for a lot of our weaknesses as a team, so I didn't really want to play it because the champion is really easy to play around because he's so independent. He can wave clear forever, and uh, yeah, it's just a champion where I think if we have the right champions around him, he's really powerful. I think Broken Blade has some really good games on Camille, and that's obviously a champion that can go in with the bombs, and then Camille's kind of a champion that can go in and die, but then I revive him and he can kind of hook shot back out. Um, yeah, we'll see if teams are going to continue to respect it at Worlds. Zilean obviously has weaknesses. It's not just some super broken champion, and we'll see if the teams at Worlds decide to ban it or if they think they can counter it.
Mm. I think there might be a difference between anyone using Zilean and Bjergsen using Zilean. I guess we'll see at Worlds. But take me into the final games before even Game 5. FlyQuest were able to tie it up. What were they able to do and change in their game plan that they were finally able to solve you for 2 games?
I think in game 3, we had a team comp that had kind of a hard time team fighting, and I think we were getting a gold lead, but we had a hard time kind of closing out the game. And a lot of our proactive plays, they ended up catching double lift on the back of them. So we would catch one guy with the TF Bard, but then our Ash would kind of just get run over by the really strong Hecker, Moriana, Nautilus, kind of hard engage team fight combo. And then at a certain point when the game was even, it was going to be kind of hard for us to fight because they just had a superior team fight comp. Game 4, personally, I felt like we were playing better than them in team fights, but they just had better team fight comp in game 3. So I wanted to play the Syndra, but we didn't really fully commit to a team fighting draft. We ended up picking the Jace. They got the orange, so we were still having a really hard time with team fighting. And game 5, we were just like, all right, the only thing FlyQuest does is front to back team fighting. We're really good at playing split. We're really good at playing pick. So we really just committed to like the TF Senna Camille kind of draft where we're playing a lot through the side lanes, looking for picks. And I think that was successful for us.
And so what was different in game 5 that swung things in your favor?
We stopped prioritizing the set as highly. We really respect Centauran's set from scrims. He's been playing really well in that champion, and it really works well with the champions Pop Evil plays and the way that they play. But we were just, let them play whatever they want. We're going to pick what we're the best at. Double Lift actually is really good at Senna, surprisingly, even though the champion was kind of a meme for him for a long time. And TF Graves is just a really solid combo. Graves is just a champion that needs people to help him get into fights, and TF is a champion that has obviously a spammable CC and later on has a long range CC with the rapid fire cannon. So Senna TF just sets up Graves really well, and then we got BB on a comfortable kind of split push champion. So I think we made really good adaptations, and it's been kind of a weakness for us throughout the playoffs where we are focusing the draft a little bit on too much on what the enemy team wants to do or what we think that they're good at. And then I feel like as the series go on, we're just like, never mind, we're good at this. Let's just pick what we're good at. And then we end up winning. So there's a bit of a learning lesson there for us to take away.
So speaking of winning, you win game 5. TSM are Summer Split champions. What's the first thing you think of when the Nexus goes down?
Oh, man. I think I was just thinking, thank God we won, because I was reverse swept in the final 2019 spring. I was reverse swept in the gauntlet to go to Worlds last year, and I'm just tired of being reverse swept. So I was just, throughout the series, I didn't think about it because I was just focusing on, how we can win, what adaptations to make. But in that moment, I was just really happy we did not get reverse swept again.
So after TSM wins, you guys stand up and then typically you huddle. I'm curious what you guys were saying. Like, what were some of the words that were exchanged in the huddle after this championship win?
I don't even think much was said. We have our manager. He's always doing speeches for us before the series and before the final games of the series. His name is James. He has some really good speeches that really help us kind of get juiced up and get ready to play. But when the series is over, I think just we all said TSM, or screamed TSM rather, and then everyone just kind of went off to talk to each other. And BB was obviously really happy. I think he played really well in the final game. I think against TL in game 5, we had a similar draft where he was playing Aurelia with Zilean, and it was kind of on him to be a big player, but he didn't have as good of a game. And he picked a carry champion in a very similar situation, a similar matchup, and today it was night and day. He played so much better, even though the pressure was so much higher.
You mentioned Broken Blade. How proud are you of guys like Broken Blade and Spika getting this championship?
I'm super proud of them. I mean, a lot of people doubted Spika, but I played with him during the small time in the gauntlet run, and that was really unfair for him because he didn't really have time to fully integrate into the team. But I even told the management I was fine with just going into string split playing with Spika this year because I had a lot of confidence in him. But they felt like he needed a little bit more time in academy to kind of develop. But I think it's showing that he's already a top jungler in NA. He has one of the widest champion pools of all the junglers in NA. Actually, both him and Centauran play pretty much all of the meta junglers. Whereas a lot of other junglers, we saw Broxah pretty much getting banned out with just 2 picks in the FlyQuest series and looking really uncomfortable. But Spika is just a confident and really clutch player. Even as a rookie, he, even when the pressure's really high, he makes really good plays. The Shen play, especially from yesterday, where he taunted one guy and then flashed with the taunt into another 2, which is like actually a really hard thing to do. It's not as easy as it might look. And yeah, I think Spika was really huge in game 5 yesterday, and Broken Blade really big in today's game 5. So I'm happy to see him step up.
So for you now, hearing about how proud you were for your teammates for this championship, but what about for you? I'd love to hear how this particular championship feels as opposed to your previous LCS championships. Where does it rank?
Oh, man. I think if it was in a stadium, it would be up there with my first. just because I had my first and then I had a lot of championship wins in a row. It's been a little dry in the trophy room the last few years. So this is my comeback win, which feels really good. I feel like I've done a lot of learning. I think we really kind of got lucky with the 2016, 2017 roster, and we didn't really even know why the team was so successful. And that's why we weren't able to build another successful roster until now, until really thinking back and learning those lessons and learning the lessons of the players that didn't fit in our team and didn't fit in our org. And obviously bringing Double F back was really helpful too. He works well with me and he works really well with the kind of culture that Reggie wants to have as well, because he's just a very direct person and he's not afraid to tell you what he sees, even if it might be a negative thing. But he also does a good job helping the team with the team chemistry and this feeling of brotherhood as well. So, of course, I had my self doubts in the past about whether I even am a top player anymore and whether I am able to win another championship. Because even individually, 2018, 2019, I wasn't playing like the best mid. But I think end of last split in spring, I think I really was playing a lot better in playoffs and throughout summer split. I think I was playing like someone who could be a champion. So I'm happy to be that again now.
So now the LCS season is over. Two quick questions about Worlds. Tell me about TSM's preparation for Worlds. Obviously, you're going to be traveling very soon. What does the team need to do to get to Shanghai, even before traveling? Any preparations, etc.? What can you tell us about TSM's journey to Shanghai?
A lot of COVID tests. Obviously, we got tested yesterday morning already, and I don't know if we have too much else to do. I think it's good for people to react. So I think we have a little bit of like sponsorship content and these things to do in the next couple of days and media leading up to Worlds. And then it's really just going there, getting through the 14 days of quarantine where we won't be together. We'll all be individually situated in our hotel rooms and further tested. Um, Luckily, we're not in play-ins because if you're in play-ins, I think you go from the 14-day quarantine straight onto stage and onto playing these matches. But we're going to have a little bit of time to be apart and then come together for the last, I don't even know how long, but we actually get to practice together before getting to playing group stage, which I think is really big because just knowing from our spring split when we had to go from being in the office to everyone scrimming online, there isn't the same level of effort or the same level of focus. And when you start to lose scrims, you don't really have that feeling of being together, and losing together is easier to kind of get sad or down on yourself. And going to Worlds, we're going to lose scrims. That's just how it is. Even I was listening to a Grabs interview with Ashley Kang, and he was saying when they go to Worlds, they also get smashed in scrims, but they're just really fast at adapting. And if G2 is losing scrims, then we're going to lose scrims too. But it's just about, how fast are we at adapting and learning from these teams, and can we learn fast enough to be a legitimate threat at Worlds?
Are there any teams that you're really looking forward to scrimming?
I think any of the really aggressive early game teams I would really like to play. A lot of the Chinese teams I want to play G2. I think Caps is playing just phenomenally well, and he's also looking like one of the best mids in the world, as he pretty much always is. And Perks is a good friend of mine, so it's always fun to scrim them and get to talk to them. So yeah, there's just a lot of different teams, but especially there's a lot of teams in NA, especially these other top teams like FlyQuest and TL that really just thrive in playing slow and not really dying early game and picking these kind of safe champs like Mordekaiser and Ornn and GP in the top lane. But those LPL teams are the exact opposite. They're first picking Renekton. They're playing to contest every jungle camp on the map, every single objective, looking to tower W at every chance that they have. And those games just look really fun to play in, honestly. And I really want to play in those games.
My last question for you is, I asked Doublelift this question earlier this week. He gave me a really thoughtful answer. Have you given any thought on what Worlds will be like this year, playing in front of no audience, still in person on LAN? Like, have you given any thought of what this experience will be like?
It's definitely going to be different because, for example, last year, G2 was talking about how Damwon was like an insane scrim team. And if they had performed like they were on stage, they would never have beat them in the Worlds. I think they played them in like semifinals or quarterfinals or something. But then they went on stage and they were playing a lot safer and not taking as many risks. But I think people are going to be feeling the pressure a bit less now. So the aggressive play style is probably going to win out on top because teams are not feeling the same amount of stage jitters as they normally would. And I think are more willing to just play really ham and play to their limits and really flex their mechanical skill. So those are games that I also really enjoy playing, and I want to really test myself and my team to see if we can catch up mechanically in those games.
Bjergsen joining us here on ESPN Esports. Thank you very much for your time and congratulations.
Thank you.